we're all so vulnerable and so broken and so whole, and we're like all of the things, and letting each other be all of the things is like the biggest gift, because I don't want to have it together all the time.
Katie, let it out with Katie. Let it out with Katie Dalebout, enthusiast and curator of people and ideas you need to hear.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. You are listening to Let It Out with me, your host, Katie Dalebout, and you just heard a quote from my friend and today's podcast guest, Misty. She is an amazing, talented musician. She is also a just really interesting, fascinating human being, and we had a really tangential, meandering conversation about body image and eating disorders and spirituality and meditation and family and creativity and music and touring. She's toured with Sarah Bareilles and the band Borns most recently. And she has this amazing solo album coming out really soon that she just recorded in Nashville right when we got back from Hawaii, which you'll hear all about. It's a really long conversation. It's a really special conversation. And I wanted to air it this week because it's National Eating Disorder Awareness Week, which, as you know, I'm a huge advocate for healing eating disorders and having a healthy relationship to food and eating intuitively. But also, it's a challenge and it's hard healing. And I was really vulnerable and honest about where I'm at with my own body image stuff. And so was Misty in this episode. And she mentioned a couple numbers in this episode about weight. And I bleeped them out just because I know for a lot of people that can be triggering. It can be for me. And so I just bleeped them out. If you hear that, that's what it is. But Misty was super vulnerable and really great with everything she shared. And I know it will make you feel less alone. It will be inspiring and interesting. And I just think I'm really excited to share this very vulnerable conversation. So I want to get right to it. But first, I have to shout out some amazing sponsors. CW Hemp, also known as Charlotte's Web. We love them, right? They're amazing. Many of you have tried them out already. If you want to feel more calm, if you want to feel more focused, if you just want to feel better, try CW Hemp. I really, really love their products, and it's actually pretty funny because our friend Pete Holmes, who we mentioned in this podcast, he loves CW Hemp and shared it with us in Hawaii for the first time. And that's when I used it for the first time and really loved it. And now I couldn't be happier that they're a sponsor of this podcast. It's a product I actually use and love. So is everything that's a sponsor. But this one in particular, I really, really love so much. So if you want to try CW Hemp, this show is also brought to you in part by FreshBooks, which is very timely because it's almost tax season, and you're probably getting your taxes together, and you probably wish that you were using FreshBooks because FreshBooks makes tax season super easy. Let me tell you, I love them. They're so easy to use. They help you organize your expenses, your business expenses, your personal expenses. They're just fantastic for invoicing, for everything you need to do financially. FreshBooks is the way to do it. So if you want to try it for 30 days free, unrestricted trial, just go to freshbooks.com/letitout and enter let it out in the how did you hear about us section. So that's freshbooks.com/letitout and enter let it out in the how did you hear about us section. That's a lot of let it out, but we love CW Hemp. Remember, 10% off, use the code let it out. We love FreshBooks. Again, use the code let it out in the how did you hear about us section. And thank you so much for supporting the podcast in that way. Another way to support it, share it with a friend, leave a review on iTunes, and just enjoy it. Listen every week. Subscribe. That would be really cool. I love you guys. I love Misty. I'm so glad she did the podcast, and I hope you really enjoyed this episode. And if you know someone who has an eating disorder or you're going through it with an eating disorder, please, please, please go to the proper channels to help you. And I will put links to all the organizations that can help you and all of the people that I recommend to people struggling in the show notes of this episode. Because as you know, I'm a huge advocate for healing eating disorders. And I'm just sending you a lot of love because so many of us have disordered relationships with food, and it's okay. You're not alone, and I think that is the most helpful thing. All right, enjoy this episode, and I will talk to you at the end with the emoji. Oh, I'm so happy to be talking to you. This is amazing.
Yes.
You're one of my favorite people, and you're so talented and fun to be around. And I remember the first time we talked about doing the podcast together, we were in the hot tub in Hawaii, and we were just like gushing over how much we had in common and realizing it. And then I told you about my podcast, and I was like, oh, you have to do my podcast, and you were so down, and here we are now, so yay.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I remember that like it was yesterday.
I know. I remember so much of that week really well because I think we were so present, you know?
So live. Oh my God.
Yeah. And not on our phones, and not, who we are in life, just like who we are as people, souls, which was really cool.
Time was really suspended.
Yeah.
Away.
I know, it was beautiful. I want to talk all about that experience with you and like what your perspective of that was. Or, well, I was going to say we'll start where I usually do, but let's just start with that. So how did we meet? Where were we? And how did you end up getting there? Because I don't actually remember what your connection to the Ram Dass retreat was.
Well, so we met at the fall Ram Dass retreat this last November, was it?
Mm-hmm. December, November,
yeah. In a hot tub. Mm-hmm. And I found Ram Dass through the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, through the guy I play with, Garrett Bournes. He was a big fan, and he was like, you have to listen to this guy. He sounds like a raspy lesbian. You're going to love it. And
that's so accurate.
Yeah. I think Duncan self-proclaims that too. So I started listening to that podcast kind of religiously. I was really lonely on the road a lot, and really struggling with my mental well-being. And that podcast really like served this space of helping me feel less alone in the world by like knowing that there was a voice out there who thought the way I did, or like that way of thinking is possible. And he talks a lot about Ram Dass, and of course he like goes out to all the retreats. And so I got really into Ram Dass and some other podcasts, and I took psychedelics for the first time because of Duncan, and like had all these like wild experiences. And in order to like, there were so many times when I was on the road that I like wanted to give up. I just wanted to quit touring and quit music and quit life. And I sort of needed this like excuse to keep going, and I gifted myself the Ram Dass retreat as like, okay, well, let's just make it through this tour, and then I'll get to go to Hawaii and go to the Ram Dass retreat, and I bet that I'm going to meet some awesome people there that are going to make me feel less alone in the world. And I certainly did. It did everything I hoped it would do. And yeah, that's that story.
Oh, I love that. And that's so, it's just, it connects so much with me and how I found my way there, and how I think we all found our way there, because we had this, beautiful community there, which I've talked about on the podcast a little bit, but how, and funnily enough, everyone listening will be meeting all of them, because all of you guys are going to end up doing the podcast eventually. And
cool.
Yeah, and it was really beautiful. I felt like I was hanging out with the cool kids, and we just had such a amazing, that was my favorite part. And I don't know if I expected that. I think I hoped for that, but I don't know if I expected to, of all the things I would come away with from it, I don't know if that was the one that I thought would be number one, which obviously makes sense, that I think people matter more than any sort of like spiritual experience or any sort of like beach time, but
people are the spiritual experience.
Yeah. Yeah, we could have been anywhere, we really could have been like in a dumpster hanging out, I think is what I like kept saying on the trip, because that's how I felt. And it was just like the being present with people, and that presence, I think, is what like Ram Dass's work is all about. But I so relate to what you said about feeling so alone, and then having this podcast that made you feel less alone and made you laugh and made you feel connected. And that Duncan's podcast has been great for me as well. But I found Duncan through Pete's podcast, and Pete's podcast was that for me for a really long time too. And hearing him talk about Ram Dass, same thing, is how I sparked my interest in it. And I totally know what you mean, although I wasn't touring, but just that sense of feeling really alone in the world. And it's just, I think it's good we're having this conversation now to, that's the goal of this podcast, is to make people and myself feel less alone, and it's a way to be able to connect with people, and for me, selfishly, to have good conversations and then share them. And anyway, it's just, I'm so glad that you're here. So before, I want to talk more about the tour and more about what you're feeling, but the question I usually like to ask to start, which I'm jumping around, but I like to start, speaking of presence, in the present moment, like today, right now. So, because I want to go back and hear about your experience and your career and mentally and where you are and all of that, and we'll get to it. But let's start in the present. So what have you been learning lately? What has been inspiring you lately? What in the last either today or this week or this month, first thing that comes to mind that you've realized or learned or been inspired by?
Oh, wow. Well, you're catching me at a good time, because I just yesterday had my second session with the hypnotherapist.
Oh, cool.
That was pretty mind-blowing. And
is it the same one that Val was telling us about when I was in LA?
No, I forgot that she had done that too. I just Googled somebody and found this woman, and it turned out to be like she's incredible.
Oh, cool. I've been hearing so much about hypnotherapy. Anyway, go on. I'm riveted.
Well, I'm a big fan. I mean, of course, like everything, I think you need to find the right person.
Yeah.
But I'm thankfully, I feel like I have. She's amazing. The first session we did 2 days back to back. The first session, I walked away feeling immediately like so much lighter in my skin and my body, and I had so much energy, and I was like, holy cow, like it was incredible. And then yesterday I walked away having the exact opposite experience. I was so lethargic and so tired. I could barely keep my eyes open. I couldn't work. I have so much work to do right now, and I couldn't do any of it. I had to lie down, and just a lot. It feels like icebergs are melting really quickly, and that, like an emotional detox, you can ride that wave both ways, like super, super up and super, super down. Hopefully I can articulate an exact takeaway from it, but it basically just, I went to her, and hopefully we'll talk about the eating disorder stuff, but I'm in the throes of another kind of bout with that, and the hyper negative self-talk around food and body issues, and it's so exhausting and so damaging and such a waste of time, and I'm so frustrated by it. I'm like, I just need to go nip this in the bud, take it out like a cancer. So that's what prompted going to her. And the first session that I walked away from feeling super energetic was she just fed into me all of the things I want to believe about myself, you're light and free and beautiful and radiant, and and I'm like, yes, 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 tell me all the things. Just like reprogramming my brain from like, oh, you're a piece of shit. You're so ugly. You're like, you'll never amount to anything. You're like, why do you always do this? That's a big one. Like when it comes to, I feel like even when I do the right thing, when I'm quote unquote eating the right foods or doing the right things, I still even then have this negative, like, I find something to beat myself up about. Nothing is ever enough, and it's really ridiculous. It's in some way like that kind of perfectionism thinking can propel you and help you be super successful, and then on the other hand, it can totally wear you down and wear you out and paralyze you. And I've had moments of it really working for me and moments of it really not, and I feel like I'm coming to a time when it's like, wow, this is really not helping, and it seems like it's this humility thing, but really is it just like another form of narcissism that I'm so self-obsessed and sabotagey? That was a mouthful, but
no, that was great. I think, first of all, it sounds like hypnotherapy is kind of like this massage for your thoughts to try to kind of pluck out those negative ones, but they're so persistent. They're like weeds, and they just come again and again, and I totally relate to that. And right. I wanted to talk about this anyway, and it's so, perfect that you brought this up, because like we were saying, we connected so much because we have, a similar, like so many women, most of the people listening have an experience with this, and it's so really deep within us that it's such a challenge to move through. And what's interesting is that, okay, so Misty, I remember meeting you. So that whole week for me was amazing and great, but also I felt so self-conscious like the entire time. And it was this sense of like I was around these really cool, talented people who I just liked so much, and I wanted them to like me, and I didn't really like myself, and still am working with that, right? And so it's all about like shifting that, and that was what the whole thing was. That was like the whole theme of all of it, was liking other people and liking yourself. But I remember meeting you on the beach the first day, and you had like the coolest swimsuit with a zipper, and your hair is like so naturally beautiful, and like you've got your cool bangs, and like you're just so beautiful. Like, just for people, not to like amp up the physical here, but like Misty is insanely gorgeous. And then I like talk to you, and you're like, oh, she's not just a pretty face, she's like so nice and cool and genuine, and like you just have this spirit about you where you just hug someone and you're like, oh, she's so present with me, and you just were such a beam of light. And then I found out how talented you were, and I heard you sing, and I heard about all the different projects you're in, and it was just like you kept elevating, and it was like blowing up a balloon. Like you were just like kept getting cooler and cooler and cooler. And then like a few days later, I think maybe even towards the end of the trip, or I don't know, maybe more towards the middle, we started in the hot tub, you and Val and I and Jess, we were all talking about, somehow we were talking about body image and feminism, and it came up that you struggled with the same things that I did, and like you just shared all this now. And it was another like watershed moment for me to be like, oh my God, I'm not alone. Like this person who I've like put on this pedestal that I'm admiring so much, that is just so beautiful and amazing, has the same shitty thoughts about herself that I do. And
it's all the same.
Yeah. And it like simultaneously made me so sad that, this person that's my friend that I love is feeling this way, because I know how terrible it is, but also at the same time, weirdly, made me feel less alone. And that's why, one of the reasons I was like so happy to have this conversation. But anyway, I wanted to like share that with you.
it's really interesting. Like I did the same with you. I like met you and like, who is this gorgeous girl? Like you have this perfect body and you're like so like smiley and beautiful. And I did the same thing. I'm just like just, and I just assumed that you would have it more together than me because you're so beautiful. And we assume these things about each other and assume that we're all alone. And I just think that somebody, it's just a malfunction in the programming. Like somebody programmed, they were like, don't let them know how powerful and strong they are. Pit them up against each other, because if they do know how powerful and strong they are, we will be annihilated.
Yeah.
You know, like we have the capacity to, as like, not only like I want to include men in this, but womankind as an entity, we are like so incredibly powerful, and I feel like we've been sabotaged to feel like we're not, and we have this. It's just faulty wiring, which I think is what the hypnotherapy is about. Just like, this is wrong. It's not your fault that you've been thinking this way, but it's wrong, and so now it's your responsibility to change it. And that's just the lot, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I read this Marianne Williamson book like a couple of years ago, and I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but it was there was basically this line. It was almost like a prayer, or probably was a prayer of like, heal my right mind. Like it was literally like a circuit has been turned off, and it was just like asking the universe of like, heal my mind into how, you know, it is supposed to be around this particular issue, you know? And
Yeah.
I had a therapist like a couple of years ago explain to me, because I was having a you know, what I call now like a bad body image day, you know, where I just like, I'm fine in the morning, and then like at noon I catch like a weird look in a, you know, mirror, or I like my pants start fitting weird or whatever it is. And clearly like I haven't drastically changed size or shape in the 24-hour period, but like I feel completely different about myself than I did in the morning or whatever. And she was saying to me, she was like, you know, if it wasn't this for you, it would be something else, you know, it would be like weirdness with money or with and like, and I trust me, I have like all, you know, I've got weirdness in lots of areas, but I think that sense of like, oh, this is like that like prickly sword in my spine, you know, that we have, that like this is kind of where things go to when our thoughts go to when other things in our life are off balance. Like we go back to the body, or we go back to, you know, food, whatever. Or we start thinking, because it's a default, you know.
In Christianity, I don't know if you came up with this, but I grew up in the church, and in Christianity, it's like Paul said, it's the thorn in his side. It's like that thing. It's kind of the thing that keeps you humble, because if we didn't have that thing, we'd spin off into like egomaniacal maniacs and think that we were God. So we have to have like a tragic flaw in order to keep our feet on the ground and keep us working toward loving everybody.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the suffering, like us persevering through the suffering is what helps us help each other.
Yeah.
Oh, which is so, you know, like it infuriates me to say it even out loud, because I just want it gone. Like I want relief.
Right.
I know that this thing is what's helping me to help myself, and it's helping me to help others. It's helping me to help people. It makes me more honest, or, you know, like it makes me work harder, and it makes me keep searching, and you know, so we dive into the depths to like bring back these treasures, yeah, and show each other like, hey, look, this is what I found. And you're like, oh my God, I found that too. And I found it a different way. Let me show you how I found it. And then we like, have this, we have something to connect over. And that's all we want is connection. And so we connect through this suffering that brings us to such love.
Yeah. I love that. My one of my mentors, Gabby Bernstein, has this line where she says, our purpose is to heal and then teach people how we healed, which is essentially saying everything you said.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I want to know, like, when did this start for you, the body stuff, and then growing up Christian, I guess that's a whole other topic that I, would love to talk more about too, but that line you just said about like the suffering, like where, before you tell us, like your kind of how this all started, but where are you with that now? Because I agree with Paul or with that sentiment, but at the same time, it's like, maybe we don't need to suffer, maybe the struggle, we can let go of that and still be okay. And I don't know. I guess I'm just like wrestling with that because I don't want to struggle, I know I
don't want to struggle either. I mean, I guess I'm not technically a Christian anymore. I still, obviously, like, there's parts of that are just kind of in your DNA as a American as I am, like generation upon generation of American.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Again, like, there's part of me that wants this suffering to end and thinks that that's possible, and we're sort of like on this trajectory toward enlightenment. Isn't that what enlightenment is? You're just like, I get it now, and it all dissolves. But when I get glimpses of that, I've had glimpses of that in meditation where I'm like, oh my God, I could just float into that oblivion and stay there forever. And then this other thought comes in that's like, how boring. And it's sort of like we've set up this game on this earth to just entertain ourselves. We're like, what if we go to Earth and like mess everything up?
Yeah.
Just see what happens. Like, see how we like claw ourselves out of it. So I don't know if like getting rid of the suffering is actually
the goal.
It's more like the process. I think we're more excited by the process than we are about the end, if we're really honest.
Yeah, no, I feel like Duncan talks about that really well, about like, how he says we come here in like these meat suits and, we chose to be here and we all had like our dharma of why, and we're going to figure that out and enjoy the game of it. And it will be what it's going to be. And that will probably be interesting. Like it's a good story. I think that's, that's kind of what life is about. Yeah.
And maybe enlightenment is in just the acceptance of that, not needing to find peace or like absolute bliss, but like kind of just surrendering into the everything, the suffering and the joy and the pain and all of it. It all kind of melts into one thing.
Yeah. Oh, that was so beautiful. I love that. So let's go back to you a little bit. So when did this stuff with the body really start for you?
I think I started like self-medicating with food as a child. And was sort of, I feel like I became aware of my body around, I don't know, maybe age 9 or 10 or 8, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And maybe in high school, realized that I'm different than normals when it comes to food, at least. I mean, everybody's got something, but I think I was like a freshman or sophomore in high school, and I realized like I'm thinking about food constantly, and my friends aren't, and they, so I othered myself in that way, and finally, I think really started shaming myself even more over that. Like, they're better than me because they don't think about food and want to eat it all the time like I do.
Did you have anyone you could talk to about that at that time? Or did you hold all of that in?
I held all of it, and I didn't have anybody to talk to. I sort of talked to one of my girlfriends, but she didn't understand. It's one of those things that if you don't suffer with it, it's really hard to understand what someone's going through. And she was like, what I do is just I eat, and then if I want to eat more, I wait 20 minutes, and if I'm still hungry, then I eat again. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's great. That sounds really nice that you have a really normal thought about how to eat healthy. I'm just like, how much food can I eat all at once until I don't feel anything anymore? And like, how much could I possibly eat until I feel like I'm going to explode? That's all I care about. And then simultaneously then like, oh my God, now I'm getting fat, and now what do I do about that? Oh, I guess I'll go run 5 miles, or I guess I'll go throw it up, or I guess I'll go just be depressed in my room and think about how bad I am for having just binged on a pint of ice cream or whatever.
So I think, with these behaviors around food, because again, so similar to my story, I always think the answer to this is yes, but was this, what were you trying to, I always think like overeating, not eating, throwing up, whatever, it's a coping mechanism because we don't want to feel a feeling we don't want to feel, so we turn to, for us it's food, or denying food, or abusing food, or whatever. For other people it's, drugs or relationships or work, and I've dabbled in like those things as well in an unhealthy way, but like we were saying before, like our thorn in our spine or whatever, I always thought that expression was sword until this moment, so I'm glad I learned that it's actually thorn. Our sword / thorn in our spine or side, whatever, is food. But anyway, so what do you think it was that you were trying to cope with at that time? And, what were you not wanting to feel? Was that the case for you?
I think it's the same thing that it is now, which is rage, like utter rage, over, abandonment issues with my mom, and emotional abandonment issues with my dad, and some other, like just family drama. And I was just desperate not to feel. My mom at once was my angel, and I wanted to protect her and love her, but she also betrayed me and left me, and so I think I was really conflicted about how to feel about her, and couldn't be honest with my feelings to myself about her, literally until like this year. So definitely that'll
do it. That's heavy.
Yeah.
So during that time and now, and we kind of like half mentioned this, and I want to talk about it a bunch more, but you are an artist, and you're an amazing musician. So was art part of your life in high school, and were you able to kind of channel some of this rage and some of these feelings into your creative work, or when did that start? When did you know you wanted to be a musician? How did that kind of come into play?
I knew, like, I think I was 5 when I knew singing to Mariah Carey in the
no
music.
way.
Yeah, I knew really, really early that I wanted to do music, and yeah, music saved my life. Music was everything, and I poured myself into it when I could. It got a little tainted along the way, but man, those first 10 years of being in love with music was so great. And because the negative self-talk kind of, it finds its way, it wants to muddle everything up for you, not just your body and food stuff. So it found a way to shame me over music too. I could never ever be good enough.
Yeah.
And I feel like the last 3 or 4 years of my creative life have been a little bit of a rebirth. It wasn't since I was 12 that I felt this connected to music, and let myself enjoy it again and let it be an outlet. I don't know how it got so muddled, but I'm really grateful to be clawing out of that, because God, music is so amazing.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me so happy.
Singing is so cathartic and hypnotic and great and
you're
healing.
so talented. Oh my God. Yeah. A couple things that I was thinking about while you were talking about that. What you were saying about the inner critic being, it's the same tone of voice of the one critiquing your body as the one critiquing your creative work and your relationships, your everything. I totally relate to that. Have you read The Artist's Way?
Yes, I love that book. That was a life-changing book for me.
Val and I are doing it now. We're going through the weeks of it. We're on week 4, I think. And
oh my God, that's exciting. What's week 4?
The one about where you go through your childhood stuff. So we've been doing a little book club of 2 for it. And game changer, right?
Game changer, totally.
Yeah. It reminded me of that when you said that.
Allowing yourself to be a kid again and do things that you love doing.
Yes.
And, it was. God, I should probably do it again now too.
Do it with us. Yeah,
I'd love that.
It's been really, really great, and I think it's all just about being gentle with yourself, which is so hard for our personality and our temperament. As someone, I'll speak for myself, but I think it's really similar with both of us. I have this deep tendency for melancholy and depression that anyone who meets me would never know, because I push so hard to not show that, and I've done that internally in a lot of different ways, and it's manifested in different ways. But I think having some sort of creative project makes that situational depression go away. If I am productive or I make something I feel good about, I can ride on that for a week. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So when you were a kid, when you found Mariah Carey, how did you know that you really wanted to, how did you get into music? Was your family musical? What were some of your early influences? What kind of music did you listen to? How did you know that you actually wanted to pursue this professionally?
Well, my parents, when me and my brothers were really young, they just kind of threw us in a bunch of stuff like t-ball and piano, and just saw what stuck. And I happened to be talented at piano, and so I kept getting kind of promoted in our group classes. And my grandma saw that I had some talent and found me a really good piano teacher in Las Cruces, who had gone to Juilliard, and you know, she kind of paved the way for me to, you know, get an education, you know, my education in music. And all the while I was like listening to Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men, and I like really loved that 90s R&B. And then I got to country when I was around 9, and like I saw this movie called Thing Called Love, which is about a girl moving to Nashville and trying to become a songwriter, and I was just like, that I don't know how, that is what I want to do. And so I got obsessed with Reba McEntire and like decided that I was going to be a songwriter for her, or wanted to be her. I couldn't tell which one, but I got, you know, just really obsessed with that idea. And then eventually, you know, when I was a little bit older, I got into like Fiona Apple and Radiohead and Tori Amos. Tori Amos was a big one because, you know, all the piano stuff. I was being classically trained and but also really into pop and singing, and so that she really kind of married those two worlds together. Same with Radiohead, is like really complicated musically, which was really intriguing, but it was also so emotional in a way that like the classical music I was learning with my teacher wasn't. So I feel like Tori and Radiohead together were like my biggest formative year influences. And
were you the only one in your family? Were your brothers musical? So remind me again, you're the only girl, right? You have just brothers?
Well, I have 2 stepbrothers, one of whom passed away a couple years ago, and 2 half-sisters that I did not grow up with. So me and my bros were in the house together, and they were more. My older stepbrother is like more brainy. He's a lawyer, and Zach, the stepbrother who was my age, who passed away, was more into sports and sort of like he was a physical therapist. So no, I was kind of the only one. My dad dabbled in playing guitar a little bit, but he was, you know, just, you know, playing like a couple Elvis songs for fun, nothing too crazy.
So you were the musical one.
I was the musical one.
That's so great. So then when did you realize that you wanted to, what happened after high school? When did you realize you wanted to move to LA, and kind of how did your career come to be?
Well, so I got into jazz in high school as well, and started doing that. I sort of found a way to like start making money with music by playing jazz, and also like it kind of propelled me into this community that I really liked. I liked jazz musicians and I liked hanging out with them. So I got really into jazz, and I was like, this is going to be the way that I get to go to college, basically. Cool. And so I wanted to like learn as much as I could about music so that I could write anything. And it was like, if I can understand jazz and the theory that it takes to play that, then I can literally understand anything, which is kind of true, but not really true. I had to like unlearn a bunch of stuff after school in order to like get back to the like core of emotion and songwriting and stuff like that. But it did like serve a purpose. So I went to college in Ohio at a conservatory there at the University of Cincinnati. And then after that, I moved to New York City to like be a singer-songwriter. I was like, I'm done with jazz. There's no way that I'm ever going to like make it as a jazz musician, nor was that really what I had intended, even though I kind of started drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. Like I entertained the idea of maybe trying to do that, and I was like, not a chance. So I started singing and I started writing seriously and doing it in public, which was a big thing. Like I never sung in public. I was really afraid of people hearing my voice.
Really? I would have never ever guessed that.
Yeah, I was terrified. I totally hid behind the piano. Wow. For sure, for a really long time, until I was about 22.
Wow.
And then I was like, I got to do this. So I went to New York, just did a bunch of open mics and made a lot of really bad music. yeah, eventually there I made my first record, and I met my first like really like great group of musician friends that helped me make cooler music.
You met Jess there too, because you guys kind of came up together in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, we were running around in the same scene there, but we actually didn't meet until we had both moved out here to LA.
Oh.
Well, that's not true. We met. So I started playing keyboards and singing backup for Sarah Bareilles, and Lucius opened for her for a tour. I had already known who they were, but we hadn't met yet, and then we met on that tour as I had already moved out to LA and became fast friends. Like they're such great people, the whole band, and then shortly after that she moved out here too, and then we became friends for real then.
Oh, cool. So for people listening, to loop them in, Jess, our friend who is also with us in Hawaii, she is part of Lucius, which is amazing, and she's also doing the podcast. But anyway, that they were in New York together, and now we're all friends, and here we are.
Yeah.
So you're in New York, you're getting some really cool projects, and things start taking off. At that point, do you become more comfortable in your skin? What's going on with you mentally, kind of like up to that point? You had started touring with Sarah Bareilles at that time?
That happened a little bit later. First, I guess when I was about 24 is when the food stuff really came to a head, and I was in New York, and I had started doing the master cleanse like once every 3 months.
Not the master cleanse.
The master cleanse.
The effing master cleanse. I feel like we all in this world have like an experience with the lemonade potion.
You know, it was fascinating because that was the first time I realized if I have no food, I'm fine. But as soon as you introduce a little bit of food, I'm out of control.
Right.
It's like I can live in the extremes. I can either binge or I can eat nothing, but I can't eat just a little bit. And I went through a year of that, totally messed up my metabolism, like to the point where the fifth master cleanse I didn't lose a single pound. And like that spun me into a psychotic anxiety, depression, like, and I called a friend of mine and was just like, I am at my wit's end with this. And she helped me find a therapist. She basically found an eating disorder therapist for me. Sean Azel's my friend that found the therapist, this woman, Susan Weisberry in New York City. And so I started going to her, and it was a very, very slow 2-year process of healing with her, but I got through a lot of my eating disorder issues with her, and at the same time met my first love and was in a relationship with him, and being loved for the first time really helped me come to some acceptance with my body. And he was really healthy about food and grew up in a family, like an Italian family, and he cooked for me all the time. And at first it was like, I can't eat pasta with cream. Are you fucking crazy?
Yeah.
But eventually it was like, no, I can eat pasta with cream because I can eat a little bit of it until I'm satisfied, and then I can stop. Yeah. Wow, what a concept.
I think that's so common. Sorry to interrupt you, but that people in the eating disorder community that I keep talking to, that a relationship can be either really helpful if the person is what we call a normal eater, and has a healthy relationship with food and their body, which, with men is way more common just because they have less to deal with on the body image side. And it can be so healing and helpful when that happens. And then on the other side, if the other partner doesn't, it can be so damaging. And like, I've heard that too. So that's so great that you had that at that really like pivotal time for you, where you were still like malleable with what was happening in your mind, to have someone like that was grounded.
Yeah, it was really great. I've had both. Like, so he was, at least with the food stuff, like it brought me through a lot of I became, my relationship with the food became a lot healthier, but then I replaced the drama with food with other things that were way more damaging. And he was a little bit part of that, but then like getting out of that relationship was a part of that. Like I finally became, my self that I had always dreamed I'd become. And then like all of a sudden I was making all these messes with men and causing, like, that's when the real problems kind of started. Once the food issues were what's the word for, like, they're still there, dormant.
Yeah.
I thought they were gone, but they were just in remission while I was wreaking other havoc.
Yeah, and we just like transfer addictions,
Yeah, exactly. So it's so interesting that what I've been working through now that the eating disorder has like reared its ugly head again this last year is like, okay, now I have to look at this straight in the face so that when/if I get in another relationship or some other thing that distracts me from the food comes along, I don't totally destroy that with the disease of the mind that I have that makes messes and picks on something, whether it's food in my body or whether it's my partner and whatever I think is wrong with him, or whether it's like, screwing a married man, or, like, the food is just the tip of the iceberg. And
so what are some of the things that you're doing? Like, how do you, we'll circle back to like what kind of happened next in your career and like in the like chronological story, but like jumping up to the present now, what are some of the things that you do now to be, what I call like being like I do so much shit, to like make me just okay to like baseline be in the world, like I meditate and I drink this sort of tea and I talk to people like you, like there's so many things. What are you doing now to, like, what kind of self-care things do you do? Do you meditate? Do you like, what are you working on now, and like where are you with it?
I do all the things. I meditate, I exercise, I've stopped drinking, I've stopped caffeine, I've stopped smoking. I'm really like militant, especially at this moment in time, to like really get to the heart of my mental illness, because it feels like it really feels like life and death at this point. I had my stepfather committed suicide this last year in May, and so I feel like with his death and my brother's death kind of compounding on top of each other, I'm like, oh, all the demons are, I thought they were just ghosts I was punching at, but it turns out they're real, and nobody is going to do this work for me. I have to do this work, and I have to figure out how to not meet that end, because it's totally possible, and it's my responsibility, not only to myself, but to the people I love, to be as healthy as possible, especially now in this like crazy world that we're living in with like Trump. Like, it's more important than ever that we show up for each other, and I've never had more of a fire under my ass to like eradicate the weeds, like just pull out all of the weeds in your heart and get good for not just for yourself, but for your fellow man. Like, we owe it to each other to work on this stuff. Otherwise, people are tapping out, and they're tapping out in the wrong ways that end up hurting the species.
Oh my gosh, you are so inspiring. You are so cool. I can't believe all that you've, when you shared that with me when we were in LA, that's such a heavy thing, and that, you're really, my friends here, we call it GTI, going through it. And you're totally GTI, like but I would have never known it, because you're really, you're doing it, you know, you're doing, and I find that for myself, you know, like I have to go to my exercise classes and I have to meditate and I have to, you know, like eat this certain way and do enough interviews and work enough but not too much, and really, like, I think Val and I were talking about this the day we hung out and did yoga booty ballet, speaking of exercising together. That was super fun. That was like such a great night. We should talk about after, but anyway, I think it's like what we were saying was like we got the combination right that day, and that's why I think we felt so good the entire time in Hawaii too, was like, and I mean, there were ups and downs there. There were for me, I'm sure for everyone, but like, I think it's, you know, it's that combination of like, a lot of days I don't want to go to a class, or I don't want to sit down and meditate, or I do want to, you know, overeat or overwork or overthink, you know, and I do those things, but the days when I remember how good I feel when I don't, and I make the, you know, quote unquote right choice, which is really, it's just the right choice for me, because as I've gotten older, I've understood the combination that makes me feel as like an okay adult person in the world, and there's so many different elements to that, and it's just, it's so cool that what you're saying of like, you know, I think what this all comes down to is getting self-awareness, you know? It's like getting to know yourself, to know what works for you and to know what doesn't. And then like the next step after that, which I'm not even always there, but is to actually do those things, you know, to actually like, okay, you've got the self-awareness, and some days you do it and some days you don't, but it's the days that you don't, not beating yourself up about it and just being like, oh, it's okay, and moving on, you know?
Right. I feel like that's the key for me right now, because I have a tendency to be, you know, a little bit
all or nothing,
and that's not fun either, because the thing is, like, yes, I've eradicated like basically all of my vices, and I'm still, you know, I'm gonna keep doing it to try to get to the heart of things, but it's so that I can have a couple of glasses of wine when I want to. I can like smoke a cigarette. I can have a bowl of pasta and not want to kill myself. Like, I feel like allowing for ourselves to be human, my militancy is to sort of get back to a place of what's the, like the middle way, you know, like the Buddhists
moderation, yeah.
Moderation. Because this isn't a way to live forever. It's no fun to like not let yourself have any fun.
Yeah, it's so good you're saying that.
And it's not a life, but it's an experiment, and I'm trying to stay with it so that I can honor myself by letting myself eventually live, like really live, and I want to be really sober for showing up for that and doing this hypnotherapy and like just
presence. Yeah, it sounds like presence. I think, you know, extremes, I wonder if that all or nothing mindset that we were just talking about, I wonder if that's I'm assuming it probably is a common eating disorder mindset, because I know I have it, and I think extremes are easy. Like, they're easy for me. I can be a very disciplined person. Like, if I decide I'm, you know, going to do a certain thing, I do it and that's it. And then if I don't, I hate myself to a level of like, I just know how much I'll hate myself, so I'm just going to not even go there. I'm going to just do it, you know, even to the point of it being damaging, which is silly. But I think moderation, some people are just born with that way of being where it's like, oh yeah, I ate a bit too much today, that's okay, moving on. Where it's like, for me, it's just this huge thing that I'm thinking of and I can't get out of my mind, and it throws off my day or my week or whatever. And it's you know, I think that's the thing to let go of. And I think it's that, you know, again, for other people, this isn't, you know, some of these things, like, and I would go around too saying like, and I think it's the same for you probably, like, we feel a lot of feelings and have a lot of thoughts, and we have all of these, you know, emotions about us, and And for you, you're an artist and you do so many things. And I think that's maybe not something shared by all of humanity. I mean, I think it is shared by all of humanity, but I think other people, I guess I'm probably not like articulating this well, and I hope I'm not like isolating people by like the way I'm explaining it, but really I guess it's just more pronounced, in us, whereas like some people are just, it's just a little bit more even, there's not so many like ups and downs, and moderation is like a bit easier, I don't know if I'm saying this right.
Oh, you're totally, I know exactly what you mean. And I've had the good fortune of like running up against some people like that in my professional life finally, where like, oh my God, you really are just like more even keeled than me. And I'm so happy for you / jealous / but what comes with my crazy mind is like maybe a little bit more, and this isn't not saying better or worse, but like a little bit more capacity to go into the heart of darkness, to come back and like share it with others. And I think being a writer, being an artist, you kind of need to have that capacity and be brave enough to let yourself go there. And I won't well, I will. I'll call myself brave. I think I've been I've been brave.
You're so brave. Yes. Everything you've been through and are going through, you are the definition of brave. Your picture is like next to brave in the dictionary.
Oh, thank you for saying that. But I feel like we all want to do that for each other. At the heart of all humans is we all want to love and serve each other. That is our basic instinct. I really believe that. And so it's not like I'm, like good for me, I'm doing that. It's just like, it's just, that's our service. That's our service as artists, is to be a little bit of a martyr to emotions and to dark feelings, but also to light. Like, holy moly, the love and joy I've been able to experience because of the things I wrestle with is like incredible. And I wouldn't trade it. I do all of this crazy shit again if I was given the opportunity. I can't even believe I'm saying that, but I would.
Yeah.
And I was going to say something else, but I forgot.
Well, hopefully it comes back to you, but I was just going to say, I think, what I was saying before and what you were saying too about like almost being jealous of the people who can be more moderate or, not have the extremes that we have. I think it's just about being grateful for the way that we are. And, it's like everybody with curly hair wants straight hair. Everyone with straight hair wants curly hair. Like, I'm sure, grass is always greener, basically. But I think, Julie Cameron talks about this in The Artist Way, too, that vulnerability that it takes to take your deepest, darkest experiences and share them and make art from it, whatever that might be, it allows for this capacity for deeper human connection. I mean, that's even been the case for me with like the little bit of that I've done of like, I'll never forget, when I first shared about, all of my stuff with food and my body. And, now I'm like a mode about it all over the internet. But the first time I did it, it was just like so terrifying and awful, but then so cathartic and connecting. And it made me it helped me relate to so many people, which I love, and is, why I can, do this podcast and talk about these things that I think it's good we're at least talking about this now. I don't know.
Yeah, it might not fix anything, but having the conversation like just takes the edge off.
Yeah. Maybe helps people feel less alone. I mean, I'm feeling less alone by the minute of this, so.
Yeah, me too. I'm so ecstatic.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, going back to rage, like, or what you were saying at the beginning, I thought of this. I think, don't you feel this way too, that, like, getting angry, you know, when you think about weight as a feminist issue, and you think about, you know, it as like a social issue, and you think about discrimination, you think about, you know, how women are being oppressed, and you think about, you know, we're physically trying to make ourselves smaller, right? Like, it's crazy. And when you think about, you know, all the diet industry, and even now that, you know, the health industry, and like all the propaganda with all of that stuff, when you really start to think about that and get angry, I think that can be a great ally and great motivation in actually healing your mental health and your relationship with food and your relationship with your body image, and, you know, like utilizing that rage for a good cause. You know, when I get angry with like the way that, you know, when I look at like fat politics, and I look at, you know, the bias around that, and gender, and all of these things, that's my greatest motivation when I'm like listening to a podcast about that, or I'm like, yeah, and I'm like feeling so good about myself that day, because all day long you're getting the opposite message, like you need to be smaller, you need to lose weight, and blah blah blah. So we have to really combat that to tell other stories like this one, you know.
Totally. I like, you know, there's part of me that's like, I want to be, the way that I know that I'm not being brave is by, you know, I want to like spread this message to young girls to just like be yourself, be fully yourself. But I'm not okay with myself. Like, I'm not okay unless I'm pounds. And if I'm not, then my body is not acceptable, and I'm unlovable and like unhireable. And that is like such a deep belief. And I want at my pounds to just be like, fuck it. I'm healthy and fine.
Yeah.
But I can't because of some insanity. It's really insane. And I look at women who are bigger than me, who love themselves, and I'm like, I would fucking kill to be that.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, it's, I don't know. I mean, I totally get it, and I'm so in the same boat, and I look at you and you're just like so gorgeous, and I know that doesn't help anything, because I could say that all day at whatever weight you are, and it doesn't help anything because people can say that to me on my worst days, and it means nothing, unfortunately. It just like falls on deaf ears. But I will say that, like, I read this is not my quote, but I read this like years ago in something on the internet, and it was saying, you know, those last 5 pounds or those last 10 pounds, whatever, are actually, you know, the piece of your favorite brownie that your husband brings you home, you know, and that like glass of champagne on someone's birthday, or that, you know, croissant in Paris, or like these your favorite cookies at the holidays, or whatever it is. Like, those last 5 pounds are these experiences in life that we don't actually, you know, want to miss, and we want to actually be a part of. And, you know, those last 5 pounds are not waking up for that horrible 4 a.m. wake up call for the 5 a.m. work, or whatever it is. Like, it's about living life, and you know, this is something I say constantly, but making your life your masterpiece, not your body. And that's the piece where, like, sometimes I hear that and I so get it, and it goes right in, and I'm like, yeah. And there's other times where I totally understand where you are, where I'm just like, yeah, but I don't care. I hate the way I look right now, and I hate the way I look in photos, and I hate that none of my clothes fit me, and I hate the way that I feel right now, so I don't care, you know? And
both are true, right? Like, we're trapped in a system that still wants us to be small, and we're in an industry that it's still like, it's just true that if you're slimmer, you get what you want more. It's just fucking true. It's
and
really,
I think it's true in every industry to some extent, and just in the world, people are treated differently. People are discriminated against every single day on the basis of size and weight, just like they are on race and gender and so many issues. But this is a human rights issue. And I think, when I look at this from an activism perspective, when I look at this of like, okay, I can take this on as a social issue and as a radical act, be okay with myself the way I look today. And know that, like, I've been thinner before, I've been heavier before, this is where I'm at today, whatever that is. And I'll probably change. I know I will change again in the future, but this is where I'm at today, and being okay with that, and being, like, radically okay with that as a statement of, like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm not going to let society have control of me. Again, I'm saying all of this, and like, I don't do this much of the time.
No, but what you're saying is exactly what I think I was trying to start saying when I brought up like the numbers. Like, I'm 129 pounds and I'm not okay with being 129 pounds, but like that can be my radical service to womankind.
Yes.
To okay with being 129 pounds. Because it fucking doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And I think it's like, when you can do that, it's not just looking at it, like, it's not just for you, like, it's not just for you to be okay with, like, this is a radical political act, it shouldn't be. It's fucking crazy that it is, but it is, and like, looking at it like that has really helped me. It's really, like, looking at it as a, like I said, like a feminist issue, and looking at it as a, this sociological problem that we have, and reframing that and getting angry is something that has helped me. But again, depends on the day. And then it's about like not attaching to any certain weight. Like, that's something that I'm kind of struggling with now, and that I haven't really processed with, like, I haven't even like really talked about this with my therapist, but here we go. I'm kind of in this space right now where, like, I've gone through this before, where, like, I will be, my weight has changed, right? Many, many, many times, because when you have a disordered relationship with food, your metabolism, and you get it, Misty, and most of the people listening probably have been through this too. And just like aging, just like being in our 20s and, having our weight fluctuate, right? And like, as women. So it's something I've been through before, but that, clothes not fitting sensation is so jarring, or can be so jarring to me and really take me out, that I dread it. And it's that stability, it's that I don't really care where my weight is or what I look like. I just want to feel okay. Like, I once said to a friend, and this is, like, from a, body image perspective isn't like probably the best way to articulate this, but it wasn't that, and fat is not a feeling, right? Like, it's something that we've like internalized, fat phobic feelings to ourselves. But, I just don't want to feel that, because it feels to me super negative, and I don't really care what I look like to other people. For me to feel okay in the world, I need to feel like I look okay, which is, not, hopefully I'll get to a point where that's not a focus of mine, and that's what I'm working towards. But I think, being attached to the weight that I am now is something that's really challenging for me, is practicing that non-attachment, because right now I'm okay with where I'm at. Like, it took me a long time, because I gained a ton of weight from where I was when I was so underweight, but I'm finally like, all right, I'm good here. But this might change, it might not, I don't know. But it's that I'm so scared of. Like, I'm clenching to this weight that I'm at, because I know what it feels like for it to change, and I don't want to go through that. But what I really want is for me to go through that or not go through that and be okay either way. Like, that's the actual thing I should be working towards,
I totally, I get the putting your clothes on. There were, like, for most of my life, every time I put a pair of pants on, I dread the moment of buttoning my pants, because if they're feeling a little bit too tight, I'm going to feel real bad. And if they're feeling like okay, I'll be like, okay, I'm okay. If they're feeling loose, I'm going to be like ecstatic. And it's just
Pants.
this pants. But I was going to say something else about that. Like,
Sorry, I totally interrupted you.
how do, like, it amazes me that women can get pregnant and have babies. And not, like, I can't even imagine being okay with getting baby fat. Like having growing a human inside of me and having to get fat to grow a human inside of me makes me want to crawl out of my skin.
I know.
And I think that's so sad.
I know. I have that exact same thing too. I have that too. I think it's good that you said that even, like I write this email to my, my newsletter, and I talked last week about fear, and I was like, no one asked, but I don't think we talk about our fears enough. And I wrote out all of my fears, and like, that was one of them, which, like you said, it's really sad, it's really sad that, and it's so ingrained, it's so deep in there for us. And it's something that terrifies me, and I want to let that go. But I think, if I'm really honest, and what I have to question is like, am I really ready to let it go? Am I really ready to let this go? Or am I holding on to this fear, this, wanting this attachment to my physical body? Like, why am I holding on to this so much? And if I'm like, the intuition answer that just came to me right now is like, I think it might be because I don't feel good enough in my, other than my physical self, I don't feel smart enough, or I don't feel cool enough, or I don't feel talented enough or creative enough and whatever enough. So, my thing, that was kind of what got me into this mess with mine, was that, I didn't feel enough, period. So I was like, well, at least I'll make my body really enough. And then I did that, and I was like, well, that I'm crazy, so that doesn't help. And then now it's kind of like I have gotten to a place where, like I said, I'm not perfect for sure, but I'm a lot better than I was before with all of that stuff. And I'm kind of okay with the fact that, no, I'm definitely not perfect, but I can get through a day not hating myself. And I kind of know the formula, and kind of when I get the combination right, when I, do those things, those self-care practices, that we were saying, when I'm around the right people, when I'm having good conversations, I cannot think about my body and food at all. And I can be totally cool, and it's fine. It's the times when I'm really stressed and I'm really worried and I'm really anxious and I'm overwhelmed with work or whatever, life changes, relationship stuff, whatever. It's those times where my default is to turn to food and my body as a coping mechanism, So it's like, when everything's great and like wonderful, I can be good, which is a step up, but it's about being able to still be okay even when other things are uncertain, Do you find that is the case kind of in your life?
Totally. And that, like, the real missing piece of self-care still for me is the like radical self-love and self-acceptance.
Yeah.
Because like we talked about before, like, I can do the drastic lifestyle changes. Like, I can stop drinking, and I can stop smoking, and I can stop eating, and I can stop sugar, and I can stop basically any physical thing. I'm incredibly disciplined, but I can't stop hating myself. Yeah. And as long as I keep hating myself, quitting any of those things isn't really going to fix anything. And so, like, getting them out of the way to see the real truth of where my brain is at has been important, and I'm glad that I'm in that process now. But I know, like, food is not the problem, and booze is not the problem, and it's a faulty computer wiring, and I could blame it on my family or whatever, but I think it's like it's a kind of an epidemic. It's not kind of, it is an epidemic among women especially, and we just need to help each other like reprogram this bullshit.
Yeah. I wish that I could just pluck it out for you and you could pluck it out for me and we could leave this conversation and you would just love yourself and like see you through my eyes. And
me too.
See, like, honestly, Misty, and I know you're not fishing for this and this is not even going to help. I hope that this somehow seeps in and you're like porous right now and it just like all gets in. But to me, you are so cool and beautiful and like you have this air about you. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's kind of like you're so unique and cool and hip and you have this like, you know, I'm this cool artist and like I don't give an F and I've got it together and like it's so cool that you are so vulnerable with everything that you shared today and I don't see you any differently, you know? Like I still see you. I still see you exactly the same as I did, you know, and not that like everything was a surprise. We'd had, you know, some of these conversations before, but like I still see you the same exact way as I did the first day on the beach in your cool, kind of like a wetsuit with a cool zipper swimsuit. You know what I mean? Like, I still see that. And it's so funny that I just wish you could see it, you know? And I wish that it could... there's so much of me that wants to be like, shake you and be like, Misty, don't you see? Who cares about 120? Like, who cares about your weight? Like, who cares about any of this? Like, you're so talented and amazing. But then I know myself and I'm like, oh, well, that wouldn't work if someone did that for me, you know, especially like during whatever period of my life when I'm really in it, you know? Whereas like right now, I'm not in a period of my life where like I'm really in it. I'm like, knock on wood, in an okay place, but who knows what tomorrow is going to bring with it. So I so get it.
I think it's so interesting. I've been told this a couple of times in a couple days in a row now, how I come off like so confident and all of these things, and like I don't give two fucks when like nothing could be further from the truth. Inside I'm like just constantly wrestling with self-worth and I think the gift that we can give each other in that, because I think that is true for most people, is the acceptance that you just gave me. Like we're all so vulnerable and so broken and so whole and we're like all of the things, and letting each other be all of the things is like the biggest gift, because I don't want to have it together all the time. Yeah. And that's exhausting for anyone.
And boring.
And boring, totally. Like it, and not that we should like only connect over our misery, but like I wish that that more people would let all of their colors show. It's a huge relief to everybody.
Yeah. I think, you know, all people want is to be seen, and to be seen as what we really are. And so, and then all people, like all I want from the people that I love are so real, you know, like and I can tell when people aren't being real. And I feel so terrible when I'm not being real with other people. I feel almost hungover after experiences I've had and that came up actually, interestingly enough, a lot for me in Hawaii, where like I felt like this is super vulnerable, I was around you guys and you were all like so talented and you're all artists, and you know, and I'm talking about you and Jess, who we mentioned, and you know, Pete and Val, and I'm around all of these fantastic, beautiful people who are so talented, and I was so in my head of like, what do I even have to share? Am I being real? Am I cool enough? Am I smart enough? Am I in the group? You know, like, and it brought up so many feelings of like middle school being you know, left out or not invited to the birthday party or whatever. And it was just, it was an adult way of kind of wrestling with that thing in my mind again of wait, no, it's okay. You can be here. You can take up space. And then now that we're having this conversation now, and the more one-on-one conversations I had with you and with everyone that we were hanging out with, I realized that it wasn't just me that felt that way. We all kind of did, weirdly, which was such an eye-opening thing for me, because these people that I, again, put on a pedestal and really admired were feeling just as insecure as I was, which was crazy. And so I think if we can all...
Or more so.
It's so crazy. And I feel like if we can just all in our minds know that, like, actually this is something that, Jack, our friend Jack.
Yeah.
He said, I was like explaining to him this exact thing one day on the beach. And he said to me, he was like, Katie, well, I was going to try to do an Australian accent, but I can't do it. So just pretend this isn't an Australian accent.
Okay.
But basically he was like, Katie, don't worry about that, because everybody else is too worried about themselves and they're thinking about if they're like okay, that they don't have time to like worry about you. And that was like the most liberating thing for me. I was like, if they're thinking half as much about themselves as I'm thinking about if I'm okay, then like they have no time to be thinking about me. They're not worried. And it just kind of, it helps a little bit for a while.
It helps a lot. And I think something that's been so great about working with famouses is that I've been freed up from thinking that they're not human just like the rest of us. And if anything, they're even more like
insecure and
self-sabotagey, like all of us. Like, we're all the same. Whether you're working at the post office or you're George Clooney, we're all the same.
Yeah.
And that it's so liberating and maybe a little bit heartbreaking at the same time. But like, it's so interesting to hear you say that when like you've written a book and you're so gorgeous and you have this mind that works. I haven't felt this like ease in conversation and I don't know how long. And like you have this, like, we're all so creative and gifted in whatever capacity we were like put on this earth to be. And it doesn't make sense to me why we hurt ourselves by like thinking that everybody else in the room is better.
Yeah. That comparison, man. It's crazy. Do you find that, like, another thing I want to talk about, because after Hawaii, you were headed to Nashville to record your album, and I would love to hear more about that, but I want to know, like, with this stuff that we're talking about not feeling good enough and about body image and all of these things, getting back to kind of your career and your story, do you feel like, where are you now with, these new kind of struggles coming back and channeling that into your art? Do you feel like it's something that because sometimes I find for me there's kind of two ways that I can handle it. And I don't know if you've seen this TED Talk, I forget who, or it might not be a TED Talk, I think it's actually a graduation speech that I watched on YouTube. But basically what the guy's saying is, with everything that comes, every kind of struggle, make good art. So his whole thing is like, your dog gets run over by a car, make good art. You lose your job, make good art. You get divorced, make good art, like over and over and over again. And I related to that. I found, that made a lot of sense. But then at the same time, I was like, sometimes I'm so in it that I don't have anything in me, kind of like what you were saying earlier, like you just didn't, after that hypnosis session, you don't have it in you. But what helps me in those instances, sometimes there's like two options. I can either make good art from two productive options. Of course, there's like the coping options that aren't productive, which sometimes I do, and a lot of times I do, and it's not great, but I'm trying to be gentle with myself, blah, blah, blah. But the two good options are either make art, or use other people's art that's already been made that can make you feel less alone, you know?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that can also be equally as healing. So anyway, I just wanted to like share that, but I want to like I want to hear like all your thoughts and feelings on that, and kind of like where you are with that now and all of it.
Totally. It was so amazing to go into the studio after the Ram Dass retreat, like with all of this love feelings, and also kind of with all the tragedy that's happened in the past couple of years, like a new kind of abandon and a new kind of like, oh, now is the time. Like there's no more time to waste being like, oh, I can't do that. Like I can do it, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna go and dig really deep and just like I'm gonna go make something out of the depths of my heart, out of pure love and pure hate and pure all of the things, and just like honestly do my best. And I don't think I had ever done that in my work before. I always held a little bit back because like being afraid of my own capacity, and also like not wanting to be totally honest, and not getting in touch with what it means to truly love, and not just in a romantic way, but like really want to serve other people. I've never come at making work for it to be so much for others like I did with this album. And just like this is an offering, and in doing so, it really healed me, and I feel like it helped me work harder and dig deeper when it wasn't just like me trying to prove something. It was me just trying to express something, and like really believe that what I have to express is worth putting out into the world. And there's songs on the record that are like 100% just like, here's the situation, here's a song about a guy killing himself, and it wasn't hard to write that song because I don't have really a censor when it comes to writing. It's just pure cathartic. But it was really hard to sing that song in the studio and be vulnerable and honest, and I was just like, well, I just got to do it anyway.
Yeah. Do you think performing it will be even more vulnerable?
I don't think so, because past the writing and recording process, performing kind of takes on a life of its own in a way, and I'm able to sort of dig into the like technical side of making music, and I don't really think a whole lot about what I'm singing. It's more like, how does this vowel sound, or how does it feel in my body, and where am I feeling it in my body, and like kind of more connecting to those physical things that keep me like tethered in the moment.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I feel like that helps me be more of a transmuting antenna for other people's experience. If I'm not so caught up in my own experience of the song, I can just be like the little like coat hanger on top of the TV.
Yeah. So where are you with the album now? Like, when will it be out? What are you working on now? Are you still working on production of it? What are you kind of working on presently?
Well, it's done, and I'm just sending it to all my friends and everybody I know, and trying to get a team behind it to put it out. I've done the thing before where I just self-release, and I will do that again if like I can't get a label behind it, but I would like more of a machine behind this one, because I think it's my best work, and I don't want to see it just flop out on SoundCloud.
Oh, that's so exciting. I can't wait to hear it and to hear the label and have everyone hear it. It's so exciting. Do you think now, with the stress of that, of, you know, you made this amazing thing and now this work, you know, needs to get shared, and I know it will, because hopefully we live in a meritocracy, and hopefully people, you know, obviously they will, and everyone who you know will benefit, which is everyone from this album, will get to hear it and see it. But how are you handling that pressure? Like, do you think that's why some of your body image and food stuff has resurfaced in the last couple weeks and months?
I think the body stuff more resurfaced while I was on tour, and like being on stage in a way that I wasn't used to being on stage, and just like a really hectic, crazy travel schedule. That was more inflaming to the to the eating disorder than this. And if anything, this making this record and having this body of work now is helping me feel like I've done and I'm doing something that I'm on this earth to do. And I think getting connected to your purpose is a big deal when like dealing with any kind of addiction. And the frustrating part with it is just knowing what's going to like not knowing what's going to happen with it, or knowing if I can make something, you know, like, can I get on a big tour opening for a great artist so that I can actually get in front of people so people actually know about the album? Like, can I get anybody interested in wanting to work with me, like a manager or a label? Like, that part is really stressful. And but I have this like that don't give a shit vibe is definitely stronger in me now. I really don't give a shit, and I'm able to put myself out there more than I ever have, which is cool, but that still might not mean anything comes from it, and I just have to kind of like accept that.
Well, I think it's about like unattachment, you know, like that, or non-attachment. Like that was kind of the case for, well, whenever anything good, any, you know, small amount of success I've had has been when I wasn't trying, you know, like right. When I didn't care if the book got published, it got published, and then that was what happened with that, you know. And it was always when I stopped trying to clinch, I think that's when, you know, the universe responds to that sort of energy, because it's so, you know, just like in a relationship, it's so uncool, that person that's like constantly calling and constantly, like, nobody wants to hang out with that person, you know. The universe doesn't want to fulfill those person's dreams. It wants the person who like plays it cool and is like, I'm okay either way, you know. And it sounds like you're in like such a good place with all of that. But I would love to go back to talking about touring, because for me, as someone who's, you know, in the Midwest and doesn't really know much about the industry, and you've worked with some like really cool projects, can you talk about some of them, and, you know, the challenges of touring, but also some of the beautiful moments of touring, because I'm sure there's some of those as well, and, you know, what is it actually like, and what, you know, how intense is it? I'm sure it's different from, you know, artist to artist, but you were most recently with Borns, and that was right before, like, up until I met you in Hawaii, like just last year. Wow. Yeah,
we wrapped up the album cycle in October, and we were on tour for 13 months straight, pretty much.
Oh my goodness.
It was really exciting, because to be a part of something that, like, I got to watch blow up in front of my eyes. And, you know, when I started touring with him, we were in a van and trailer, and play like without a single day off. And then by the end, you know, we were on a bus, and things were a little bit, I wouldn't say cushier, but it was a little bit cushier. Still a really hectic schedule the whole time. And, I got to go see places that I never dreamed I'd see.
Yeah, what were all the cities that you went to?
Like Bucharest was amazing, and Prague, and we played in Moscow, which was one of my favorite shows. It was so great. And
So cool.
like we went to Australia, we played every American city, some more than once, some more than 5 times. Did almost every, big music festival, both here and overseas. So I got to like check off a lot of like life goal lists, at least from a musician standpoint. Like, okay, played Coachella, know what that's like. The irony is that like a lot of these things that we hold up on a pedestal, kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, it's like once you get in there, you're like, oh, that's just that. This is just another day, and that's just another human, and this is just another show. And so some of the biggest ones can feel like that, and then some of the really small ones that you're not expecting are like super special. Like this show in Moscow is like, I never really had an interest in going to Russia. I never thought it'd be something that I did, and I didn't think that even when I knew I was going to go there, I wasn't like that interested in it. I'm not sure why, but once we got over there, it was incredible. The whole experience just blew me away, and the audience was so amazing, and the vibe that they gave us it was like a life-changing show, and it was to 500 people or something in a pretty small club, maybe not even 500 people. It was like a pretty tiny thing, but it felt so big, whereas like Coachella felt like whatever.
It's so funny.
But the schedule and all that traveling is really a grind, and it's way more boring than people would think. It's a lot of sitting around in moving objects and non-moving objects and dressing rooms, and like just waiting for sound check, and then waiting for the show, and then waiting for the plane, and then waiting for the bus, and then waiting for like just so much time alone with your own thoughts. That's what tour is.
It sounds so glamorous, and from the outside looks so glamorous. So it's and a lot of the people listening, like me, might have no firsthand accounts of it like we're getting right now. So I think that's really valuable. And did it feel like camp? Like, did you feel like you probably got super close with everyone who you were with? You played keyboards and sang with them, right? So
yeah.
Was everyone, how did you feel really close with them, or did you kind of did you have a lot of alone time too?
It's interesting, like everybody on the tour was so amazing, very sweet. Everybody's super sweet, and we did get to know each other pretty well. Like, I'd consider them family, and also like I don't know them very much at all at the same time, and it's a really interesting dichotomy, because at once you're like, it's work, but you're friends, and they're not, especially in a situation like that where it's like hired. We're all the musicians playing with Garrett are hired. We're not a band that like started up together from when we were kids, so we wouldn't necessarily otherwise have chosen to like spend so much time together, but we just found it totally is like a family. Like, you don't like, you're born into a family, and you're just like, okay, you're the people that I'm learning how to live with, and sometimes it goes great and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it went great, but I also like, we haven't hung out at all since we've been back in LA.
Right.
So it's a really fascinating thing. I can't wrap my head around the entertainment industry relationship vibe.
Yeah.
Especially in LA. It's very different here than it was in New York and the way I'm used to making music in the past.
Yeah. Why did you want to move to LA?
basically to do what I'm doing, which more like more big pop tours are put together here. And since my day job essentially has been like playing keyboard and singing backup for other artists, I thought like, well, I can just make more money, in LA and get on bigger tours, and that essentially is what has happened. And also, like, I wanted to be a little bit closer to my family. They're all in New Mexico. And I love the songwriter stuff that's happening out here, like Dawes and Blake Mills, and I wanted to be closer to that. And that's been really cool because I now have met those guys and know them a little bit. And so it's been fun to, like, literally see, like, what I intended to accomplish when I came out here, like, happen.
That's so cool. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
What's your favorite part of living in LA and being a musician? And those can be totally separate or combined.
Well, I love the weather. You would be insane to not love the weather. I love the weather. I love being close to the ocean. I started surfing a little bit, so that's cool. I love, like I said, the singer-songwriter, a lot of the singer-songwriter stuff that's happening out here. So that's been cool to be a little bit closer to that.
Yeah.
And just lifestyle improvement, like tenfold from coming from New York. Just immediately your quality of life goes up moving to LA.
Yeah. So for me, selfishly, what was the best part of living in New York? And, like, what were some of the things that you loved about your time there?
Well, I love the energy is so kinetic, and I learned so much so fast about what I wanted and didn't want, musically speaking. And, you can walk anywhere, you can walk, like, I really miss, like, just walking down the street to get to a bodega to get, like, a bottle of water, and then, like, on the way past a thing and just, like, pop in that store. You can't do that in LA. You have to, like, it's so destination heavy. But you can just, like, wander around more in New York. I love the food scene there. I miss those days in the fall that would just be, like, the perfect temperature, and the gods would just be smiling down on you. And, like, you pay your dues so hard in New York that when you get, like, one good day every 6 months, it's heaven on earth.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say to a young musician who wants to perform and, do what you're doing essentially? What advice would you give them?
I think, like, just play. Just find people to play with in any way you can. Like, I got on Craigslist and just auditioned for a bunch of stuff and went to a bunch of open mics and music venues and hung around and met people. And you're going to probably go through meeting a lot of weirdos, but eventually you find your people. And once you find your people musically, like, the whole world changes. And it's really exciting.
I love that. What are some people right now, some musicians, I think you mentioned some in LA or just in general right now that you think that people should check out, that I should check out or know about, or, things that you love that are new, and then also maybe just things that kind of inspire you or inspire your work, other people or people who you'd even like to work with or play with?
Well, I just discovered this guy, Didi Dumbo. He's an Australian guy. Super cool music, like electronic. It sounds like Jeff Buckley singing over, like, electronica.
Whoa, cool. How do you spell that?
It's D.D. Dumbo, like the elephant. Cool. Yeah, he's super cool. I'm really into the new Jim James record. I love I love Blake Mills, basically anything he does. And who else am I listening to? I've become obsessed with my Spotify, my Discover Weekly.
Me too. It's so good.
So great.
They're
I feel like
so good at curating for us.
they really are.
Shout out to Spotify. Feel free to sponsor the podcast. I love Discover
Yes.
Weekly.
Please sponsor this podcast.
Yeah, that's so funny. I know it is. I find such good things through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever algorithm they're using is really working for them.
It's really working. I haven't been this excited about discovering new music since I was a teenager. I feel like
Right?
it totally reignited my like love affair with music.
It's like, remember when someone really cool would give you a mix CD and you would
Yeah.
like be so excited to listen to all the songs and then like name them in your iTunes, you know? Like
Totally.
that's how I feel.
That's how I feel. Oh, Andy Schaaf. Everybody go listen to Andy Schaaf, especially if you like kind of melancholic, sad music.
Yes.
He is incredible. His last name is spelled Schauf,
Okay.
I think.
I'm so excited. That is like my genre of choice, melancholy sad music.
Yeah, it's incredible. He's a visionary.
Oh, cool. I just got so many things to listen to. It's going to make my Discover Weekly even better next week.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, what is kind of your biggest goal with your art, with your creativity right now? Like, is there someone that or, a venue or something that you're dying to, work with? Or, are you really hoping to focus more on your solo work and elevating that? Like, what are kind of like some things you want to, what I love about this podcast is it's kind of like a moment in time where like, this is going to be out there on the internet, hopefully forever. And we're going to be friends forever because, I've just decided that. And you're probably going to do you're definitely going to do this podcast again in 2 years and 5 years and 1 year. And, who knows, maybe like next month. But like today, what do you want to put out there to the universe is like, this is what I want to say that I want to be doing in this moment.
I want to put out this record and tour on it and open for a band that I love and be able to like take my own band out on the road. That's really my goal for 2017. And I just got chills.
Me too, because I was thinking about it and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be there. I'm going to get to see you perform and I'm going to be cheering in whatever city I'm in and it's going to be fantastic and I can't wait. So I'm holding that vision and I cannot wait to hear this new album and see you perform it.
Yay!
Okay, what are some of your self-care rituals? You mentioned a bunch of them, but if you had to choose like 3 that are really important to you that you really stick with that you want to share?
I'd say meditation, journal writing, and exercise are my top 3.
Oh, cool. So, as you know, my book is about journaling. Have you always been a journaler as a songwriter? Does that play in? Do you do kind of like Julia Cameron style morning pages? What is your journaling practice like?
Yeah, I always had a journal from a very young age. Basically, since I learned how to write, I kept a journal, and then when I read The Artist's Way, then it became more of a stream of consciousness thing, and now it's a bit of a muddle of both. Like, jab some song lyrics in there. I don't do the full 3 pages. I'll just do like 1 page of stream of consciousness, or just to like. I'd like to just like write something every day, and sometimes 3 pages feels a little overwhelming and not do it at all. So I try to keep it simple now, but yeah, I'm a believer in journaling, and I kept a journal on the road this year, and I'm so glad I did because I have been able to go back and be like, wow, that's what I was thinking. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, what kind of meditation do you do? Is that different every day, or do you do a certain kind?
I'm still sort of experimenting with what works with meditation. I have been doing it consistently now for about a year, but I go back. I'll do like just breath work, just like focusing on the breath at the nostrils. That seems to be my go-to these days. Or I like to do some Deepak Chopra guided meditations. I've found some other guided meditations online, and Sharon Salzberg's Loving Kindness meditation that we got from the Ram Dass retreat. I really that one. But
we love her in this family.
Yes. Loving kindness has really been beneficial for me, I think.
I wanted to mention earlier, too, the practice that we did there that was so powerful, the Just Like Me meditation. I think when we were talking about, you working with a lot of famous people and being around them and realizing, essentially that, like, just like me. And then you shared with me last time I was in LA a couple weeks ago that you did that with your mom. Can you tell us about that, a little bit about that experience at least, and just kind of just what that particular meditation meant to you? And I'll just explain it quickly for people listening. Essentially, when we were at the retreat, they had us do this with a stranger. We all did it with strangers, where you looked into their eyes and they read off all of these, really beautiful statements like, this person is sometimes grumpy, just like me. This person is hungry, just like me. This person will die, just like me. Mm-hmm. And anyway, it was. What was your experience like with that? And you also took it home. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
My experience with that at the retreat was earth-shattering. I did it with a total stranger, and we looked into each other's eyes for 8 minutes and rattled off all those things. And I realized for the first time that I was afraid of death, because I started crying when she rattled off this person will die just like me. And I had never, ever, ever thought about that.
Wow.
And I realized looking into the stranger's eyes, how it just was a flood of compassion and love for just all of humanity. When you're looking in the eyes, it feels like you're looking into a portal that connects us all to the same machine. And I really felt that, and felt so connected to this guy after not having known him. And doing it with my mom was it was so much harder to strip away what I know about her and our dynamic, and just see her as a human being without the storyline. So it was different. It was I didn't get the high that I got from doing it with a stranger, doing it with my mom, but I got some really good work done.
Yeah.
It was wow, I don't, look at how my story about my mom dehumanizes her. And that sucks for both of us. It doesn't give her the freedom and space to be who she is. It doesn't allow me to be who I am. It sort of traps us in this this role-playing game that neither one of us want to be in. And so I wish that I could be around her every day and do that exercise with her every day and get better at it.
Wow. Yeah, you're my hero for trying and even doing it, the one time. That's so, I told you that when you told me that is a total goal, and something that I think is, it's really challenging, but important and powerful. And I think our relationships with our parents and just in general are so complicated with, people we know. So that contrast of hearing you talk about doing it with a stranger to doing it with someone you're literally probably the closest with of anyone ever, because you like lived inside her body, and like have had this, tumultuous relationship. It's so brave of you to even go there.
Well, it was brave of her too to allow it, because it's not her thing. She's an evangelical Christian and comes from a totally different world than I do right now, and she allowed for that, which I think speaks to her fortitude and also desperation. I think we were both feeling very desperate to connect, and so I'm really thankful to her for even trying with me.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thanks for sharing that on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for letting me, giving me a space.
Yeah. Okay, so these are kind of later, but these are the questions that are kind of quick fire questions. So just kind of say the first couple of things that come to your mind, and yeah, let's just burn through these questions. So,
Burn them.
What are your morning routines? So maybe the first 3 things you do when you wake up in the morning, and how does that affect how the rest of your day goes?
Well, first thing when I wake up, I panic about my day. No, I try to get some kind of meditation in, some kind of exercise, and breakfast.
Cool. What are your evening routines, like the last few things you do when you're winding down? How do you relax at the end of a day?
Another meditation. I like to make I've been lately making like a goat's milk concoction before bed.
Oh, nice.
And just the standard, like brush the teeth, change the clothes, get into bed. I've stopped like watching TV or being on my phone at all at night, which has really helped.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Favorite fruit and favorite vegetable?
Favorite fruit is probably blueberries. Favorite vegetable, squash.
Yum. I want both of those things right now, maybe even together. What is the best thing that you've eaten in the last week?
Oh, well, I made this really yummy quinoa bean like thing with my friend's Indian spice mix that he made. Ooh. And it was ridiculously good.
Was it like a curry situation of a spice?
Yeah, like a dry curry. Yeah.
Nice. Ooh, I could go for some of that right now.
Yeah.
What is the greatest lesson you've learned about family?
That it's important to stop wanting people to change and just loving each other for who we are.
That's such a good one. What about romantic relationships?
Same.
I was going to say that seems pretty universal what you just shared.
Yeah, just love each other, man.
Yeah. Love everyone, right?
Love everyone.
What do you do when you're having a, either a bad body image moment or just a shitty day in general? What are some of your go-to things when you remember to do, that's the key, make you feel better? What are kind of your go-to things to shift you out of it?
Well, actually, my hypnotherapist just recommended this thing that I've been doing the last couple of days that works so well.
Ooh, yay.
So
give it to me.
I recommend everybody go get yourself some sesame oil or your favorite kind of oil, but something that will not make you break out. And you get in front, after you take a shower, get in front of the mirror, and with the oil, rub your face and say, I love my beautiful face. And then rub your body and I love my beautiful tits. And I love my beautiful arms. I love my beautiful belly. I love my beautiful legs. I love my beautiful butt. And you're rubbing each one of these places. and it feels so good. You will love yourself.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Where are you with spirituality, God, what happens when we die, all of that? You said you grew up Christian, super Christian. Now you seem to be super open and super spiritual, kind of where, I know it's a huge question to ask at the end, but, where kind of are you with all of that now?
I'm at a still like open place. I think because of my background growing up Christian, I'm hyper vigilant of being tied down to any one thing. But like, I'm very much a person of like, whatever works for you, do that. Because I believe in the brain and I believe in science a lot, and I believe in like the placebo effect, and I think that pretty much whatever you decide is going to work is going to work.
Yes! I'm so on the same page with that.
Yeah.
I say that all the time. I was like just having that conversation with someone, like when it comes to like holistic healing, like if you believe that supplements and green juice is going to heal you, it probably will. If you believe that, antidepressants and medicine will, then that probably will. It doesn't really matter, but it just matters what you believe about it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, so you're going to create this is like, how people do like fantasy football. You're creating your ideal girl band. So what is your fantasy girl band? You can have like 5 people in it. Who would it be?
Oh my God, my fantasy girl band. Well, Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga is the first one. I don't know what she would play necessarily because she can do everything, but
she's in.
She's in. Who else? Wow, this is hard.
Your first love, Mariah Carey, would she make the cut?
No, not anymore. Not anymore. She's after that, after New Year's, she's off the team.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Probably Gwen Stefani.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. You remind me of her.
Oh my God, you just made my whole day.
You so do. Oh my gosh. No, you have like a similar energy to her. And I love her.
I love her so much. Sarah Bareilles.
Was she super cool to work with?
She is the best.
Aww, she seems really cool.
She's so cool and so talented, and so she's just love juice, that woman.
Oh, that's so good. That's so nice to hear about someone who seems that way. It's so glad. It's nice when they actually are.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. She's a rare bird.
Oh, that's great. Makes sense. She appears that way.
One more. Let me give one more.
Okay.
Girl power, girls. Emily Haynes from Metric.
Oh, cool. Metric's so cool.
Yeah.
That's a pretty dope band.
It's a dope band.
Yeah. That show would be insane.
Sarah's the only brunette. I'm sorry.
She could dye her hair.
Yeah, she could dye her hair.
Cool. I would totally see that show. Okay, so this question I got from The Artist's Way, and Julia Cameron. But if you could have 5 alternative lives, what would they be? And you did The Artist's Way, so you might remember, but just what comes to mind now?
Number 1, like backup dancer for like a big pop tour, like Michael Jackson style.
Cool.
2, maybe like a marine biologist.
Oh, nice.
Or somebody to like dive in the ocean a lot.
Yeah, you love snorkeling. The first day we met, I remember like we were on the beach and you were out snorkeling for so long. You like went so far out.
Yeah, man, I was into it.
I love it.
I love the ocean. It's my happy place. Wow, what else would I be? Professional surfer.
Nice.
I would be a surfer who owns a coffee shop.
Ooh, that would be a dope life.
That would be dope, like on Maui.
Yes. I would just live there with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Maybe like a string theorist. Like go to get my PhD in string theory and just like talk about the way the brain works and how spirituality can be proven by science.
Oh, cool. That would be dope too.
Yeah, I'm not quite smart enough to do that, but this is dreamland, so that's fine.
Yes, and also yes, you are. But sure.
And maybe like a novelist who lives in the south of France. This is my other
Nice.
number 5.
Nice. Okay, so speaking of islands, you're trapped on a deserted island, and you can only bring with you one book, one movie, one piece of music to listen to, and one person to go with you. Who would you bring? What would you do? Go.
Okay, well, I would bring the book, The Mists of Avalon. I would bring the movie Amelie. I would bring the piece of music. OK Computer by Radiohead. That album. Can I bring a whole album?
Yes.
Okay, OK Computer.
I'll allow it.
I'll bring my friend Lyra Lynn. I think she's my soulmate. And what was the other thing?
Food.
Oh,
that you
food.
wouldn't get sick of.
That I wouldn't get sick of. Chicken wings.
Nice. So you got to recommend kind of some things through there, but any other, like a book, a movie, something that you've seen or read recently? You already gave a bunch of great suggestions for music, but, another podcast you listened to. This is kind of the time to just, like, recommend things that you want people to know about. Even, like, a quote or idea or a city.
Well, I recommend everybody go to Eastern Europe. It's highly underrated. So go to Bucharest and, like, eat dumplings.
Cool. I want to go. I want to go with you.
Yeah, we should all go. And go to all the churches. There's so many tiny, cool churches there. And the churches there is so fascinating because the way the way that they depict the saints reminds me a lot of Hinduism, and it really helped me see, like, oh my God, all of this is the same. It's like coming back. Anyway, books. I have been really into Richard Brautigan lately. He was one of the lesser known beat poets, and his poetry is hilarious and heartbreaking.
Wait, what's his name? Say that again.
Richard Brautigan. Braug.
I'll give it a Google. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. I'm always reading some kind of self-help book. So the one I'm reading right now is called Loving What Is by Byron Katie, and
that's such a good one.
I think that's good. That's good. So, some good truth.
Yeah. Have you read You Are a Badass? Sorry to interrupt you, but
yes, I loved that book.
Wasn't that one good? I just always think that, like, if people are inclined to self-help, I like to at least recommend that one because I feel like it's such a catch-all for everything I've read in the last 5 years. She summarized it all really nicely.
She really did summarize about 20 years worth of psychology.
Yeah, she really kind of tied it all up with a bow. I kind of wish I would have started there.
Yeah. It's great book.
Yeah.
Love that.
Okay, I interrupted your flow. I think you're gonna say something else, maybe movie or
podcast. I'm really podcasts. I really love Pete's podcast and Duncan Trussell, and I've been listening to this guy, the Rich Roll podcast, actually from hearing him be a guest on Pete Holmes' show. He gets a little bit, for people with eating disorders, I think it's kind of a dangerous one because he's so hyper vegan.
Yeah.
I think can get a little some of the people on his show can be a little, they don't get the emotional, psychological side of eating sometimes, so be careful with that one. But sometimes just the information is really helpful, and also the entrepreneurial spirit of like, if you want something, you just have to do the hard work. I've been into hearing people talk about that, and he does. So I like that podcast.
Yeah, that was the first podcast I ever listened to, like in 2013, when that made me want to start mine.
Rich Rolls?
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. He was actually in Hawaii in like a yurt, and he started it, and it was like really tiny then, and I was like, I could do that. I could like Skype with people in my house and record it, and I started to do it, and here we are.
Wow.
Thank you, Ritual. But then, I have to be very weird. I was like very vegan-y at that time myself, and am not now, but there were just some guests where I'm just like, and I'm gonna 15-second forward, or I can't with this one.
It's tread lightly.
Yeah. Cool. And I actually had his wife, Julie Pyatt, who I love. She was one of my first podcast guests.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she's real cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anything else? What about, have you seen any good movies lately, or any movies that you want to recommend?
I thought La La Land was really good.
So good. Oh my gosh.
Good.
I want to see it like 10 more times. It was so good.
Other than that, I haven't, because of my sort of like soul quest, I haven't been watching TV or seeing too many movies this last year. So I feel a little bit out of the loop with that stuff, but I did see La La Land, and I thought it was great. And that means I feel like I'm really picky about music, and I feel like the way that they use music, like for being a modern musical, it was so well done.
Cool. That's cool to hear from your perspective, because I loved it, but I don't have any, I'm not a musician, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, the name of this podcast is Let It Out. Do you feel, Misty, like you let it all out? Is there anything else that you want to let out, that you wish that I would have asked you, that you want to ask the listeners or me, or what? How are you feeling?
I feel great. I feel like I really did get to let it all out, and I'm so thankful that you're doing this, and that you're a voice out in the world, and that you give voice to other people, and you've helped me have a voice in this way, and I hope to all your listeners that they that we all just are able to step into our own skin and really show up for each other in this especially these days.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's so important right now and always, and I'm just so happy that you did the podcast and that other people can hear, what I hear, having you as a friend now, that you're so awesome and talented and real and vulnerable, and I just am so excited for people to connect with you. So you'll keep us posted on when your album is out and how people can come and see you and support you and follow you and be friends with you on all of the social medias, and anything that you will talk before this comes out when it's a little closer, but anything you want to plug or promote or have people find you?
Everybody can find me at mistyboyce.com, and I'm Misty Boyce on Twitter and on Instagram. And hopefully just the album will be coming out this year, and just keep an eye out for it. And
I'll keep you posted on everything you follow me on too. So, and all of the links will be in the show notes. But yeah, just watch Misty closely, because she's not messing around. She's so talented and cool, which obviously people know because they just spent 2 hours and 19 minutes with her. All right, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Misty as much as I did. She's the real deal. Tweet at her, tweet at me if you are still listening right now, because I'm really grateful that you're still listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope you feel less alone. And before I tell you what emoji to tweet at us, first I'm going to quickly shout out our sponsors again. Thank you so much, FreshBooks, for sponsoring the podcast. We love you. If you want to organize your finances, use FreshBooks. They're amazing. We love them. Go to freshbooks.com/letitout. That's freshbooks.com/letitout. And tell them in the How Did You Hear About Us section that Let It Out sent you. That's me. That's this podcast. That'd be so nice. Also, try out CW Hemp. We love CW Hemp. I'm a big fan of the olive oil flavor. A lot of other people are really big fans of the mint chocolate chip flavor. You know, you do you. I'm not a big mint person, but most people are. It just makes me feel calm. It gives me kind of a body high. It's not a, high in your mind at all. It's just in your body, and it helps relax you, gives you a sense of calm, reduces exercise-induced inflammation, and it actually increases your focus. So if you want to feel more calm, if you want to feel more focused, if you just want to feel better, try CW Hemp. And to do that, make sure you get 10% off by using the code LETITOUT at checkout. That's 10% off using the code LETITOUT for Charlotte's Web. All right, I love you guys. Thank you so much for still listening. Tweet at Misty, tweet at me, the emoji for this week's episode, which is the mushroom emoji. We love the mushroom emoji. This was a request from our amazing show producer, Amanda. So tweet at all of us the mushroom emoji, and I will talk to you guys next week. Love you. Bye.